Welcome to the 2025 FCOE Honors. I'm Mary Ellen Galvan, Executive Director of the Foundation at FCOE. Every year, we gather here in the historic Old Administration Building Auditorium at Fresno City College to recognize 4 extraordinary community stewards surrounded by friends, family, and supporters of K-12 public education. At this event, we shine the spotlight on individuals whose dedication and commitment to service have made a lasting impact on the lives of Fresno County students. They represent the very best from communities across Fresno and demonstrate how one person's passion can truly transform the lives of our youth. It is my pleasure to present tonight's encore presentation celebrating this year's outstanding honorees, whose contributions in agriculture, academics, the arts, and athletics have left a lasting mark on education. Come on in and let the honors begin.
It's our job to feed the world. We have the best food. We have the cheapest food. We have the most variety of food. We have the greatest area to raise the food. I was raised on my dad's farm there at Centerville, and he farmed some cotton, but then eventually it was all permanent crops of grapes, almonds, and some citrus. But I kind of wanted to branch out a little bit and got into field crops, corn, hay, but I also liked livestock. So I had a little herd of cows and a little flock of sheep, and then I also raised a few horses.
My family has ranched in this area for decades, and then Mark helped us for forever on the ranch. He's had a sense of responsibility and hard work ethic from the time I've known him. And so he became a part of our family. He's like my big brother, he always has been.
When I got into high school, I was a pretty shy kid and couldn't hardly say my own name, but the Future Farmers of America gave me some opportunities and really helped me out. With that, I was able to go out and talk to people and converse, and I already knew the language being raised on the farm. From there, I went on to Reedley College for 2 years and was in the Reedley College Aggies organization. After that, I decided I was going to Fresno State, but I got offered a job at Valentine Produce in Sanger and Reedley, and so I became a field man for them for 3 years. After 3 years, I was offered a job at the Fresno Land Bank. So I went to my dad and my boss there at Valentine, and I said, I'm thinking about taking a job as an appraiser for Farm Credit. And both of them said, that's a bad choice. I decided I would try it. And so I went and told my dad and my boss, and they said, well, we sure hope it works out, but if it doesn't, come back and talk to us. So I worked for Farm Credit for 50 years. It kind of worked out.
Well, Mark Thompson was the one that had the most knowledge and ability to communicate with us younger associates in the Farm Credit Association that we were part of. And anytime that the powers that be, the management, wanted us to learn something or to better understand a crop or how it was processed, they typically turned it over to Mark. There wasn't a crop or a piece of machinery out there that we couldn't go to him and ask him about. And we knew that if he didn't know, which is rare, he knew who to talk to, and he knew them personally.
The Toolbox program was started through one of my best friends, who is another rodeo announcer, and he helps at the Houston Livestock Show. He told me that at that livestock show, they have a lot of corporate sponsors. And he said, for example, they give away, I'm gonna say like Lincoln Welders. So if you happen to win your class or you're a champion, then you get a Lincoln Welder also. But what about the boy that has his folks go to the bank and borrow $700 or $800 to buy a lamb to take to the fair? So my idea was, let's help these kids that need help. They've already demonstrated they have the wherewithal and the fortitude to handle this project, take care of it for almost a year, show up at the fair, go ahead and market that animal, and it's a success.
I remember this so vividly. There was this, I'd say maybe a junior in high school, and he had just gotten his toolbox, and he was out literally in the aisle of the barn, And his entire family was around him and just in awe of what the honor that he had received by getting that and what those tools will allow him to do as far as his future. It was proof positive that the Toolbox program is pretty inspirational and helpful to those kids.
He loves young people. He loves the next generation. He still goes to competitions when they're doing judgment and they need people to listen to these guys, these young FFA and 4-H people talk.
I just feel it's really important to help our young people when we can, and the other thing is to give back to the community. That's what makes us unique. We're all here to help each other.
His entire life is around ag. He's part of the Clovis Rodeo. He's part of the Farm Bureau. He's part of Cattlemen's. He's been, gosh, I think it was 40 plus years with the Fresno Madera Farm Credit or the Farm Credit system. I mean, he's a legend.
The man comes always from a place of yes, and that's a quality that very few people possess. If you need help, he'll be there. And what's more deserving and honorable to award somebody acknowledgement of being that fantastic of a giving person. It makes me almost tear up because he deserves it. He is so deserving of it.
When I got the call, I thought they got the wrong number. There are so many people that deserve this. And you look back up the line and Debbie Jacobson and John Alkire, and the list goes on and on and on. And when you look back at people like that, you think, you know, I'm not worthy, but I'll try and do my part.
I was born in a small town in Jalisco, Mexico. It's called La Tinaja. My father was a bracero, and I had a mother that was way advanced for those years. They were both working on saving every penny they earned so that we can all immigrate to this country. So we did. Like, we were one of the lucky families that came in totally legally when we stepped into the United States. And my parents started working, and my older brother started working in the fields. So we were there for a little while, towards Patterson, California. I have always liked singing, dancing, and I used to tour as a singer. I did little tiny pieces in a couple of movies. So this was my life since I was little. I always wanted to do this. So I work as a DJ to start out with, and that's how I got started in this business.
It was a secret. It was a secret dream that she had. And it was just something that she always wanted to do. She felt like, I absolutely have this. I have the personality, I have the desire, I have the passion for it.
And I worked in Modesto. I went to Patterson, and then I was offered jobs here in Fresno. And I had a few offers, and I decided Fresno's my hometown. I came here, and I spent a few years working in the radio stations.
Lupita Lomeli and I go way, way back. I think it was 1988, 1989. I was starting my career as a salesperson at Telemundo. Everywhere I went to make calls, I would see this lovely lady in there, and she was always closing deals. And it was Lupita Lomeli. Back in the day, she was a very popular DJ in the marketplace in Spanish language radio. And in those days, you were able to sell and be on air. She knew how to sell, and she was great on the mic, so it was a deadly combination for her.
Univision knew that I was always on doing something that had to do with, artists or working in this field. So they used to call me for the specials. Radio was going through a transition. They called me to come and work here, and they opened that morning show, and I was part of it.
We ended up working here at Univision, working together, and she was in a different capacity in the morning show. And again, she was very well known on the radio, on the mic, but in television, she was breaking through and carving out at that time what would be a huge legacy.
After the years passed, I realized what a powerful opportunity we had to empower people and to bring the resources. When I discovered that was my focus. When I was here and on TV, I brought what my parents taught me. He said, our community, most of us are not rich. And a lot of us work in the fields to survive, but the kids don't have to do that. My job was first to teach the parents the importance of understanding the education system and understand that we all part of an education, not just the teachers, but us as parents. Language should not be a barrier.
You know, we refer to her as the mini Oprah Winfrey, and that impact that she's had in the marketplace is not only to our Spanish-speaking audience, but people know her. People who don't speak Spanish, they know her. They know her. Why? Because of the great things that she's done here in the Valley, all of the outreach that she's done.
It's a privilege to serve the community. That's my favorite word, okay? Anywhere I go, I consider myself very privileged. So I never consider me a role model. By all means, no. What I want them to know is that I am part of their family. I am one of them. I work for them. I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for the affection that they show me.
I'm grateful that they see, the hard work that my mom put in, because it was not easy. And I get a little emotional because she struggled a lot. And I promised I was not going to cry in this interview. But she did. She had a lot of struggles, but she wore them so well. So when people appreciate her and when people love her, it makes everything worth it.
Oh, I think this is a special one. She's been honored within her field and for what she does in the Hispanic community, but this is about all overall education. This is a great honor.
I never thought I would get nominated for this award. Never. That was not even a thought. So when I found out that I was getting this award, I still can't believe it. It's a reality, I know, because I'm sitting here, but it means so much to me, and it means so much to my kids, Lynette and Christian, because my daughter is always crying because, she's really proud of me, just as I am of her and my son, but there's no words. There's no words.
So I always had an interest in architecture. I designed and built the first little potting shed when I was 13 years old. That little bonsai potting shed was almost the pre-generator of my entire career, because one of our family friends told me that she thought it looked like the work of Frank Lloyd Wright, and I had never heard of Frank Lloyd Wright.
There is nothing normal about Arthur Dyson's architecture. This is the most incredible stuff with a multiplicity that most humans couldn't understand.
I never wanted to be different, I just wanted to be better, but I never tried to be like everyone else either. I was born in Hawthorne, right next to Inglewood, but grew up in Inglewood, but it was a great childhood. It was close to the beach, it was close to Exhibition Park, USC, the Coliseum. It was a good time. And I grew up in an era where mass production was underway. We were building tract houses every place. They all looked the same, much like today. And I thought there had to be a better way. But that's what led me to Frank Lloyd Wright. I went to Wisconsin primarily to study with Frank Lloyd Wright. And at the same time, I went to the University of Wisconsin. And then Oklahoma, I went there to work with an architect named Bruce Goff, who was probably, after Mr. Wright died, the most creative architect in the world at that time. He did a lot of suspension things, suspending, rather than supporting something from below, he would suspend it from up above.
I met Arthur Dyson in, I think, 2001. I was asked to do a story on him, some photographs of him, and a couple of his projects. Ever since then, I've documented his work all over North America.
When I do residential work, I have a questionnaire that I have my clients fill out. It tells me about their childhood, what meant a lot to them, where their favorite play spaces were. When you approach it that way, you're not copying somebody's style, but you're putting in these design elements all together.
He puts so much into it, into the human nature and how things respond, how humans respond. It's not just building a containment for you to be in, keep the rain off. It's about helping your soul thrive?
I enjoy doing all types of work, educational facilities, religious facilities, residential. We did a performing arts center in Selma. Every job is an exciting job, and I see every project that comes in as an opportunity to do the best work I've ever done in my life.
When I first decided to develop a school, I knew that I wanted to build a state-of-the-art facility, and I wanted to do something that was outside of the box. You know, our educational approach is very different than your traditional cookie cutter like model school. I knew Arthur Dyson has always been a very artistic architect that thinks outside the box and really does things uniquely different. He was an architect that I got an opportunity to interview, and after seeing his vision and hearing his vision that he wanted to bring to this school, I knew he was going to be the right fit for us for sure. Not only did he consider the environment when it came to this building, but he considered how scholars learn best.
The goal mainly was to make it the best learning and teaching environment possible. That was the main goal. It's the same idea, just like we're setting out here now. We wanted a sense of enclosure for the students, but we didn't want to cage them in. So these pylons are open, but you can see it separates it from the rest of the campus. But the other things is we wanted some transparency. So the idea of the circles in there were for kids to lounge on, and it really works. You come out here, they're filled. Kids absolutely love them. You can affect the students. Even without teaching. I taught too. I taught University of North Carolina in Charlotte, but at Taliesin I was primarily an administrator, but at the same time I thought I was maybe a cheerleader, helping students find their own voice, not copying something that they liked, but find that inner song that they had to let that out.
Everything he does is about somebody else. When he saw the condition that homeless people were being treated in Fresno, that's when he said something has to be done. So he started studying on what causes homelessness and what can help, and put together the concept for the eco-village.
Well, social justice issues have always been something that touched my heart, motivated me to do something. Growing up near Watts and Compton, I saw a lot of my friends being treated very differently than I was being treated. And it really didn't quite resonate that much with me until when I was 10 years old. I saw a movie called The Jackie Robinson Story. For the first time, I really saw how people suffered and were treated just because they looked different than the majority of folks.
To understand that art isn't just looking to do things from an architectural standpoint, but from a social justice standpoint, from a civil rights standpoint, that just speaks to the genuine person that he truly is.
I've been documenting arts work all over North America since 2022 or something like that. Putting together the first book that he's done has been, an honor and a wonderful creative task. He's turned down publishers his whole career. He has a pretty important career, obviously. Being Dean of Taliesin, the Frank Lloyd Wright School, after working with Mr. Wright. And yet he turned down publishers. He's just a kind and humble gentleman. He shows through his efforts and through his work.
I've been asked a lot if I have a favorite project, and they're all my favorites, like your children. How can you pick one? But there probably is one that meant probably the most to me. We did a house in Panama City Beach, Florida, for a family, and it's the most expressive home we've ever done. It's on the Gulf of Mexico, all glass. It blends in with the sand dunes with its curves and all of its glass.
We have a world-renowned architect right here in the city of Fresno, and I think when you look at Art Dyson buildings, not only that he's put here in Fresno, but what he's done across the nation and globally, it's a piece that will not only speak to the art souls, but it's a piece that could speak to everyone to show like how you can design a facility, a home, a school with nature instead of designing against nature.
It's always an honor to have somebody appreciate what you've done. I think it's what you carry in your heart that means the most. Knowing that you did the best you could, always, no matter what the project was, no matter what was given to you. And also to see possibilities, always looking for the possibilities, always looking for a better way.
First time I wrestled was in 3rd grade. I was wearing cut-off jeans and tennis shoes and a shirt, and I looked across and this guy was wearing a singlet and a headgear, and I kind of froze. I lost that match and then I stopped wrestling for 2 years. Like I tell some of my wrestlers, sometimes you give it all you have, but sometimes you don't reach the goal. But there's more goals in life. Sometimes you're gonna get knocked down, but get back up. Get back up. Because that's the way life is.
I think one of the biggest things I learned from Coach Diego is perseverance. Even if you didn't lose, or even when you lost a match, you kept going, you got better. You kept your head up high and you treated everyone with respect. He comes from a wrestling background as well. His entire family wrestled, so he grew up around it.
And lucky for me, I had some tough parents, but they wanted us to succeed in life. My dad was from Socapo, Michoacan, Mexico, and my mom was from Texas, Austin, Texas. And so they met there and they moved to 5 Points in California in the labor camp. From there, we moved to Selma. I have a brother named Nick Quintana, and I have a cousin named Nick Quintana. My oldest brother, Nick Quintana, convinced all his relatives and his other brothers to go out for wrestling. The one that had the most influence on me on the coaching and wrestling and got me going was actually my cousin, Nick Quintana, because he went to wrestle for Fresno State.
He was around 6 or 7 years old. I got him into wrestling and taking him to tournaments on the weekends and so forth and so on. He was one of our better wrestlers, just a really hard worker.
In 7th grade, my cousin Nick started the junior high program. And he was the first junior high program, and he was coaching us. So that's when I really started taking off. I went undefeated in junior high.
He used to come from the junior high, when he was in junior high, and come to work out with the high school kids because he was that good. You know, just this hunger, you know, his passion, you know, it was always in his mind. Working out, conditioning.
And then I went to high school and I was a 4-time Valley finalist, 3-time league champion, 4-time master placer, and 2-time state qualifier. When I was a senior, I started coaching. My cousin Nick decided that he was just going to concentrate on the high school program and the high school kids. So I took over the youth program when I was a senior in high school. And I fell in love with it. I realized that I could help them reach their goals. And in life, in the sport. I walked in at Fresno State my freshman year, but then I stopped wrestling and I started coaching at the high school too. So I was Coach Q's assistant coach, head assistant coach, and I coached with him for like 10 years. During that time, we were very successful.
He loved wrestling so much, and he wanted to help me. I think it was kind of like a way of giving back, you know, to what he had received. Not just from me, but from the whole wrestling thing.
One thing about the community of Selma, they love wrestling. I mean, they love the sport. I wanted to start another club. That Selma Youth Wrestling was kind of dying out. I wanted to start a club that would reach more youth. So I started Selma Youth Wrestling, Team Selma. I started that club from scratch. I wanted to reach out to a lot of kids. I wanted a lot of kids to be able to wrestle, no matter what social class they came from. If they could not afford the sport, we'll fundraise for them.
I first met Coach Diego when I moved to Selma and joined the wrestling club there. He was the head coach at the time, and I was about 5 years old. What I remember about Coach Diego is that he was always persistent and he was firm, yet kind. He'd be like, hey, you messed up on this, next time, try it this way. He was very caring. So for me, it was really interesting because I grew up in a single parent household. So he sort of acted not only as my coach, but as a surrogate father too. I learned a lot of lessons from him.
He felt compassion for kids that didn't have, you know, the sources. For example, money for shoes, wrestling shoes, or money to eat when we go to tournaments, money for equipment. He'd help them out.
Growing up, my mother was always big on education, but so was he. He was always checking in on our grades as a coach. And he always taught us to value education.
A lot of kids that could have probably went the wrong way, went the right way. We send kids to college every year. Sometimes we send 5 or 6, sometimes it's 2 or 3. But every year our kids are getting scholarships to colleges.
He had a large impact in my life, and actually when I was trying to make a career choice, I thought back to the people who made a difference in my life, and they're always teachers or my coaches. As a teacher and as a vice principal, I treat every kid like they're my brother, like they're my sister, and that comes with a huge compassion that you carry with you.
It's always been about them reaching their goals and doing the best. We've had prior wrestlers, and I could point to wrestlers up there on my wall, and I could tell them, you know this guy? He's a orthopedic surgeon. He came from Salmon Wrestling.
Yeah, I'm overjoyed when I heard that Coach Diego was getting honored. I think it was a long time coming. He's poured his entire life into his community and into wrestling, and building a program that is still lasting and strong today. He retired from his job and was still coaching, and he continues to coach to this day. So it's something that he really cares about, and it's impacting kids.
Sometimes when you're in the background, you don't get the notoriety. I never want to be in the limelight. I just never did. But I'm really grateful, man. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. It's great to be honored. You know, it's just a great feeling that people appreciate the work you put in.
What incredible stories! These remarkable individuals remind us of the power of dedication, service, and community. I hope you are uplifted and motivated to carry that spirit forward. Thank you for watching and joining us in honoring Ms. Lupita Lomali, Mr. Mark Thompson, Mr. Arthur Dyson, and Mr. Diego Quintana. Their work continues to inspire and shape the future of Fresno County students. On behalf of the Foundation Board of Directors, I'd like to thank founding sponsor Educational Employees Credit Union, presenting sponsors Chevron, Valley Children's Hospital, ERC, and Prodigy Healthcare, and all of the evening sponsors whose generosity is creating opportunities for students to succeed in school and in life. Learn how you can make a lasting difference in the education of Fresno County students through the Foundation at FCOE, whether through donations, sponsorships, planned gifts, endowments, or our Raise to 1 Million campaign. Visit us at fcoefoundation.org or call 559-497-3770 to get involved.